Basic Beginner's Guitar, Perfect Timing, A Focused Approach, Book 1. This is Lesson 3, Part 1. And before I do anything, I noted this in the description of Lesson 2, Part 2. Right at the beginning, if you look at that, whoever looks at that, right off the bat is going to notice I have a couple of things to be careful of and pay attention of that I basically had little brain spasms and did something wrong in them. The first one was, and we will be picking up on that little supplemental page CS-2 on third note, okay, so you can have that ready. But what I did there in the previous lesson, Lesson 2, Part 2, I had said that on, speaking of the abbreviated chords, where we'd kind of gotten into the beginning of this page, abbreviated chords here, I referred to them, I think I read it correctly, but then when I played them, I think I did the C chord with only the one finger. What's circled there is 1, and only really played them, well, I actually strummed it on 4 strings, and so it's kind of again, I'm calling it a brain spasm. I think sometimes people will, what I'm getting at with these abbreviated chords, and I'll kind of expand on that here shortly. That's part of that third note that we're going to do. But the abbreviated chords we're doing are G, I'm going to just go over them here, on 4 strings. You do first fret, and then C, and it should have been the first fret, first finger, second string, and the second fret, second finger on the 4th string, so it would have been like this. Okay, so here. I played it without that 4th string fingering, which is not right. So sometimes people will say, so what I meant by abbreviated chord is I'm not playing all 6 strings. We're going to get to that here shortly. Instead of playing G just like this, or use more strings, okay? Same way with C. Instead of like this, you use 5 strings, okay? So, said all that to say, sorry. Can kind of, hopefully that kind of fixed it in your mind. We're gonna move on from there. And then the other thing that I did, I noticed, and those places where I said that or played them wrong are at 9:13 and 12:02. So you can look at those places if you go back to Lesson 2, Part 2. But here on Lesson 3, Part 1, still on the same lesson there, at 10:26, I also called alternate picking, which was, if you remember, I was showing instead of going down just all downstrokes, like I'll do a G scale. You can kind of see how my pick, I'm just going to give you a close-up of this. Okay, alternate picking is, so you can't see my pick real good because let's try to get an angle where you could. Backwards here, so it's hard to do in the angle I'm at. Okay, so I'm going up and down with the pick. That's alternate picking. And that's called it's called alternate picking. I called it sweep picking, which is another technique, harder. It just has to do, well, I won't even go into it. It's a more advanced technique that we're not going to fool with here. So are you all tuned up? I hope so. No, we're not playing that much yet, but when we get to it, we're going to at least strum these chords, okay? Kind of go over them again. The G on 4 strings, the C now on 4 strings, doing it correctly, okay, and the D note and the D chord on 4 strings, okay, playing all 4. So now we're caught up. So really, the third note, I was making the point that in the case of the G and the C chords, these are simple chords, meaning that they're only using a limited number of strings. In each case here, only 4, and that's where I had my little brain spasm. Sometimes people teach that an abbreviated chord as only using 3 strings. So anyway, now you know, right? So hopefully some of these mistakes, if I do this occasionally, will maybe drive it home in your brain a little bit. So So, as I continue on, I said, whereas they could be played as fuller sounding or complete chords by using more of the guitar's 6 strings, sometimes 5, sometimes all 6, and we'll look at this later. These are good for now. We were just going to do some, I was just going to do some strumming. I said, now try the simple strum pattern using all downstrokes, play it with each chord, saying and between, this is something new here, saying and between each number of your counting. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4. Instead of just counting like that, go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, okay? So the G chord, 4 strings, would be all downstrokes, be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, okay? The C would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. The D, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, okay? All right? So that's all I really wanted to, I wanted to get that and in there because that's going to be important later, but let me see here. Oh, my next page, the CS, and I have dash 2.5, which is just kind of because it was sort of an afterthought and I kind of slipped it in here. Got to watch my time here again. Checking it out, and I have my phone is kind of squeezed there. Should be okay. I've got a little clip in case you wonder why I'm looking down there all the time. Kind of got a clip I put my phone up in, and my numbers for my counter are halfway covered, so that's why it looks weird. But so I have this little page, CS 2.5. It says stop, okay? So I mentioned the previous page, we'll get to it later. Well, now it's later. I kind of thought, well, we better be just as well to go over these chords as full chords now, and you can play them either way. The abbreviated or simple chords sound fine, but the full chords sound just a little bit that much better, so more full. So, as I said, before moving on to more other chords, I want to point out that the G and the C chord in particular, on top of the previous page, were shown as simple chords or abbreviated chords. I already explained all this. Meaning that there are more notes involved with the full or complete chords, okay? Some chords like G and C are often taught that way because they're easier for beginners and they sound fine, but we want to get to where we learn the full chords as well. So here they are. And if you're looking at that page, you can see in the fingering, still with the G, we're keeping the 3 finger, the 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the 1st string where it was, okay? But we're going to even confuse you more with that. I mean, teach you more great stuff with that here in a minute. And then the C chord, 1, 2, 3, okay? Adding the 3 finger. So instead of just the 3rd finger and 4 strings for the G, I want to move this to where let's see, I did actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. I did use the 3rd finger, and then the 1st and 2nd go clear across here to the 5th and 6th string on the 2nd and 3rd frets respectively. And then you play all 6, okay? All 6 strings. So that strum would be like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, okay? That was the bottom of the last page. Then the C chord, that was the 4 strings. You're just using your 1st and 2nd finger on these 2 frets. 1st on the 2nd, 2nd on the 4th. We're going to now put down the 3rd finger out here on the 5th string at the 3rd fret, okay? So the C looks like that, and that's the way the diagram looks, okay? So strumming that would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, okay? So, pretty simple. The D really doesn't change because you still want to just play the 4 strings with the D chord, okay? So I think, and here we're going to do some different fingering of the same, well, of G in particular, that's all. So I think it's worth noting also that the G chord in particular is often fingered several different ways. Try these below and don't get too hooked on playing it just one way, okay? Realizing that the variations will help you later on a lot of things that you do. I'm not going to try, I guess I won't try any examples there. I suppose I could. Let's see. So we've learned it this way. Okay. But there are things that you can do like see my music. So so basically they're just things you can do with your free fingers, your free F-R-E-E fingers. If you play it the way we've learned it so far, sometimes you will. And there's even another variation with like double, I think I show you there, where we move the third finger over one and put your pinky down where the third finger had been there, and then do the rest this way. So instead of playing it like this, the second string changes, and you get a little different sound, okay? A little different voicing. That's what that's called. So and then the one in the corner, let me see here. This is what we just, let's see, what's my time? Okay. This is what we just played here, where we've moved your what was on the first string, your third finger, over to the second, and used your fourth finger where your third had been. Okay, hopefully you're not too confused with that. And then this was the same, but now this other way of doing it, you actually change these two, and you're using your fourth, same as here, but instead of 1 and 2, you're using, let's see, 2 and 3. I might be looking at that backwards. Let's see. No, that's correct. Yeah, instead of 1 and 2, you're using 2 and 3. Okay. Okay. A lot of jumping around there. Just look at those diagrams and try them. Force yourself to look at which finger is going on which fret and which string, and you'll figure it out, okay? So we're going to learn a couple of notes. I've got a couple minutes left. The first two notes on the staff we're going to learn, compared to where they are played on the guitar, are the high E and F notes. You'll notice one is open and one is fretted or stopped, as we touched on before. This is page 16, okay? Remember where the high E and the high F were on the staff. We looked at that, okay? High E, high F, and there were low ones as well. But so where they're played on the guitar are here, open, that's the O, that's the E. I mean, O is for open. On the high string, the E string, is your E note, high E, and then F is your first fret on that same string. Don't be confused by these little dots. These are, remember, the position markers? I just have them drawn in there sometime. Thought that might confuse people. But so basically you have, let's see, I want to be able to show both hands here. The high E string, open, is, I'm not touching it with my left, that's the high E. So it's the E string, that makes sense, that's the high E note, okay? And then, first fret, first finger, is the F. And again, you don't want to be down here, you kind of want to be close to the fret, okay? Just keep that loosely in mind. You don't want to be on top of it. It starts to not sound too good, because I'm getting over it. It'll get up to the next one, or it'll buzz. You want to be kind of, and down here you just have to push harder if you're back. So these will move around. You'll have some variation, but so open E, first fret, F. Okay. So that is. Let's see. My time is getting short, so I was just saying for now, play or pluck the string in a downward pick stroke only, and noting that the circled one here is often how the fingering is shown, okay? And then sometimes it's just shown as it is in the corner, not circled, okay? On a little note or chord diagram, either one. Okay, so end of page 16, and we're going to jump over. It's kind of talking about what I just talked about, but we'll repeat it as we pick up on the next one. All right, hop over to what should be lesson 3, part 2, okay? Hey, I got it right, I think.